What is up, guys? We are here to give our review of last night's WWE Payback, which I thought was an extraordinary show. Possibly, honestly, I think I enjoyed it better than SummerSlam. And honestly, SummerSlam's a really good show, but I really enjoyed Payback. It felt like an NXT takeover for Raw and SmackDown. 6 matches, all got time, all with meaning, all with purpose, all with a nice story told. I really loved this show. I thought it was great. So we're going to break it all down. As always, let's get into this review. Alright, so we kicked off the night. We had the steel cage match between Becky, Lynch, and Trish Stratus. And, you know, I have been the first person to admit that I have not been a fan of this feud. The Night of Champions match, really good. The Payback match, really good. Everything in between, not a fan of. The promos each and every week, I just thought were abysmal. You guys heard me beat this horse to death. I just wasn't a fan of the actual feud itself. However, the matches have been extraordinary, especially last night at Payback. I thought these two women delivered a phenomenal steel cage match. Trish Stratus had a big old lump on her forehead. Tons of cool spots in this match. We had Trish Stratus taking a suplex, basically in a way, off the cage. We had a manhandle slam off the top. There's a bunch of good stuff. Zoe Stark getting involved, that backfiring. Really good matchup here, man. We knew going in this was probably going to be the cap off to the feud, and again, I thought they bookended this feud very, very nicely, and especially last night was ending it at the highest point they could. Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus tearing it up inside the cage. Definitely 2 thumbs up from me. Becky Lynch, of course, getting the victory after the matchup. Zoe Stark turning on Trish Stratus. Well, Trish kind of, shoving Zoe Stark and pushing her over the edge to do it, and then getting hit with the Z360. So looks like that is the end of the road for this comeback run, if you will, for Trish Stratus, or maybe not. I'm pretty sure somebody said recently that Trish would love to fight for the Women's Championship in the near future. I forget if it was for Rhea Ripley on Raw or for Io Sky on SmackDown. I forget if she specified. So who knows? Maybe Trish will be back in the near future, but as for now, I do believe her run is done. They closed up the feud with Becky Lynch. They separated her and Zoe Stark. We're now on to brighter pastures on Monday Night Raw, and I definitely think it ended with a positive note. Of course, on Friday Night SmackDown this past Friday, we got the return of the GOAT, John Cena. I think he's the GOAT. If you got a problem with that, I don't know what to tell you. And obviously on SmackDown, we saw John Cena not only interacting with Jimmy Uso, but we also got him announcing that he would be the host of last night's Payback. And obviously that was just the icing on the cake of getting John Cena every week for the next 2 months. Probably going to be wrestling on Fastlane, SmackDown's like, we got Cena in for the long haul for a little while, for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks. I forget what it is. Gonna be awesome, man. Soak it in while we're getting it. Love me some extra of the GOAT on television in John Cena. But last night he was on Payback as the host, and this led to John Cena making himself the special guest referee for the match between The Miz and LA Knight, which I said in my prediction video. I was looking forward to this matchup, and I wasn't even trying to say it in a derogatory way towards The Miz, but I really haven't been excited for a Miz match in a long time. And even though I think The Miz is great, it's just been a long time since we chalked one up for The Miz, if you know what I mean. But I was looking forward to the match with LA Knight last night. With Cena in there, definitely added a little bit of an extra element, which I thought was very interesting, and I thought they had a solid matchup, man. In my personal opinion, I saw some people hating on this match on social media. I saw some people saying it was slow, it was boring, but I really didn't get that vibe. Maybe because it was LA Knight, who's red hot right now. Maybe because we had John Cena. I don't know. Or I've just been invested in the LA Knight and Miz feud, outside of the fact that this is a breaking the brand split rules feud, which I'm not a fan of. If we look at all the rest of the positives, that's basically all I see is positives between LA Knight and The Miz so far in this feud. And LA Knight getting the victory over The Miz last night, and a couple of things could be coming out of that matchup at Payback. We either get LA Knight versus John Cena, which I don't really know how I feel about that, because even though it would be a, I'm sure a great matchup, and obviously in a sense it would make LA Knight probably look that much better. LA Knight's red hot as a babyface, but John Cena's reached that point where maybe people are gonna boo him, but I really don't see it. I mean, people have gone from saying John Cena sucks to singing his theme song, so I don't really know if that's the best story, if that's the best situation for LA Knight to be in right now, is going up against not only another top babyface, but literally and just being serious right now, literally one of the greatest of all time, who's just at a level of just respect and admiration every time he's in the ring. So even though there's positives to Cena and LA Knight one-on-one, there might be some negatives as well, or we might not be getting Cena versus LA Knight at all, because at the end of the day, the last image we saw was Cena raising LA Knight's hand last night at Payback. So maybe we are going to get Cena and LA Knight versus The Miz and a tag team partner in the near future. That's what we are rumoring just for SmackDown a couple of weeks back, if Cena was going to be involved in something. But we'll see. We got Fastlane coming up at the beginning of October. Definitely John Cena going to be on that show, and with some actual build time in the lead up to Fastlane, not just showing up the night before like he did for Payback. I'm sure we'll get Cena competing on that show, which should be very interesting. But as for last night, I thought LA Knight Miz has a solid matchup and definitely was a good culmination to the story, if that is truly the end of the story for LA Knight and Miz. But I could definitely see some stuff continuing. LA Knight defeats The Miz, John Cena giving him that rub afterwards. Good stuff. We had the United States Championship match. Austin Theory looking to contest against my personal greatest of all time. Well, like, it's like my personal, like, my favorite wrestler of all time, Rey Mysterio, and then there's the guy I overall acknowledge as the GOAT in John Cena. But, like, you know, we'll just call Rey Mysterio my personal greatest of all time, if that's what you want to say. But we had Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory for the US title. And I think this is probably the shortest matchup of the night, but it still got a little bit of time, probably like a solid 10 minutes. And obviously it was a step up from their SmackDown match, which had a little bit more of a impromptu, obviously fast feel, and that was kind of played into the result of that match a few weeks ago when Rey defeated, or last month at this point, when Rey Mysterio defeated Austin Theory for the United States title. It was supposed to be quick and, you know, out of nowhere, and they still wrestled for a few minutes on SmackDown last month, but I don't even think it went the full 10 minutes that their Payback match went. And this was good stuff, man. Rey did a couple of unique things in here, such as normally does that slide to the outside and lands on his opponent and does the splash, or catches himself and rolls out of it. And this time he did the kind of the stomach slide, if you will, out of the ring and caught Austin Theory in a tornado DDT, as well as I believe he did a springboard moonsault, but instead of just landing on Rey Mysterio or Theory catching him, they caught it into a Hurricane Rana, and it was super cool, man. Rey Mysterio just pulling out some unique stuff last night. That man right there, man, give him his respect. One of the greatest of all time, Rey Mysterio. But in the end, Mysterio retaining the United States Championship, which is a very nice finish that was about to parallel the SmackDown matchup from last month. Rey Mysterio with the 619 when he went for the splash, which, if you remember, was the combination that led to Mysterio winning the US title on SmackDown. Theory got the knees up last night, and then I believe Theory went for, was it a town down, or he had Rey on his shoulders, and then I believe Rey counted it into like a small package sunset, whatever it was, but then he got the win over Austin Theory that way. So nice finish there. Rey Mysterio retains the United States Championship, and I'm very interested to see what is next for both of these guys. And I was talking about this in the prediction video a little bit, but Rey Mysterio, obviously he's the US champ. Him and Santos Escobar, I think, will feud eventually. I think depending on what they do with Dominic at WrestleMania, if they don't go the route of Dominic versus Rey, then I think you could slide Rey versus Santos right in there. So really no rush for the Santos versus Rey feud. At the same time, taking Dominic out of the equation, taking Santos out of the equation, they could run Rey versus Grayson Waller. If they want on SmackDown, they could run Rey versus Jimmy Uso or Solo Sikoa on SmackDown, or fill in the blank, you know, just whatever heel they want Rey to feud with right now. But I do think that is it for now when it comes to Austin Theory in the United States Championship picture. He lost the title, lost his rematch that he obviously earned, and I do think it is time for one of two things for Austin Theory. It's either time for that Undertaker-like feud, which I'll talk about that and the meaning behind that in a second, or it is time for the full-fledged babyface turn. Now, I have compared, and I popped huge for this on commentary last night, but Michael Cole briefly compared Austin Theory to a young Randy Orton, and I was like, thank you, because I have been saying that on the channel 4 months. Everybody looks at Austin Theory, they always go, want to be John Cena, prototype John Cena, all this stuff, but after like the short trunks and the prototype thing, Theory's always reminded me of a young 2003, 2004 Randy Orton. I feel like the Theory we have gotten over the last year, WWE trying to push him hard, taking him to the next level, US champ, beating Cena at WrestleMania, all this, I think Theory's in that 04 Randy Orton stage. Just won the world, like talk about Randy Orton, won the world championship, turned babyface, and it just immediately wasn't working. They were trying really hard to push Randy Orton as a top babyface on Raw back in 2004. And obviously he had, you know, his cheers, if you will. He had his fans, but it just wasn't as over as WWE wanted it to be. Randy Orton simply just wasn't ready for that spot. And that's what I think Austin Theory has been in, that spot where WWE really wants to take him to the next level, but he's just not there yet. But for Randy Orton, there was a saving grace. Came 2005, he turned heel again and basically feuded all of 2005 with The Undertaker. WrestleMania, SummerSlam, they had the handicap casket match at No Mercy, and then Hell in the Cell at Armageddon. And that year, that feud with The Undertaker, in my opinion, took Randy Orton over the top to the next level. Orton really came into his own, had an identity as a heel. It took Randy Orton to absolutely the next level, and I think that's what Austin Theory needs, is that one major feud to take him to the next level. And I've thrown out the idea, if Edge is sticking around, remains to be seen, but Edge versus Austin Theory could be that feud. Obviously, Austin Theory has already worked with a John Cena, he's just worked with a Randy Orton, just worked with a Rey Mysterio, but maybe when Randy Orton comes back, if he's coming back anytime soon, he can feud with Randy Orton and really get that parallel to the young Randy Orton. Whatever it may be, you could throw out your ideas, but maybe Theory needs that one big non-title feud where things really get escalated, they really make a personal feud for Austin Theory, and that's what takes him to the next level. Or don't go that route and try the babyface route. Try the entertaining, you know, smile on his face Austin Theory, because a lot of people have said that Theory outside of the ring is a really likable guy. He's always, you know, cheering and having a good time at meet and greets. And Theory, I think himself has said on interviews that he would like to be a babyface one day. He feels like he's a cheery, funny guy, so maybe it would work. I don't know, but you definitely need to make a decision with Austin Theory, or else he's gonna fade into oblivion, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Theory is going to be one of the potential futures of the WWE. I think he's got all the tools. He just needs that one thing to take him to the next level. Pick your road you want to go down and send Austin Theory down it. And I think by the time you get to the other end of that road, Theory is going to come out a better wrestler, a better superstar in all aspects. But remains to be seen what is going to happen with my guy, Austin Theory. He's always got my support. However, we will move on to the Steel City Street Fight for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending against Finn Balor and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day. Absolutely one of the best matches of the year. This match was freaking awesome. We have got a lot of KO and Sami versus the Judgment Day over the last few months, but if this, I was about to say if this is the end of the road to the story, but it's definitely not going to be the end of the road to the story, especially with how this match went. But this was certainly a nice feather in the cap of the story. That doesn't make sense. That's usually said by the end. It was a nice freaking match for the story, is what I'm trying to say. All four guys absolutely tore it up. I could sit here and tell you about each and every moment that happened, but it wouldn't do it justice. Just go watch it yourself. Obviously, at one point, KO and Sami put the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey jerseys on. Kevin Owens happened to come up all freaking bloody, rocking the crimson mask. I was like, let's freaking go. That was an awesome moment. Kevin Owens honestly like stole the show in this matchup. Between that and him just being all bloody, doing the Swanton Bomb and out in the crowd on the Dominic Mysterio through a table was sick. At one point, JD McDonough tries to get involved, and Kevin Owens absolutely murders this dude with a pop-up power bomb, not even through the announce table, just like on the edge of the table, and it looked freaking nasty, dude. And then I think it was pretty soon after that that Kevin Owens is standing by the barricade, and Rhea Ripley comes out of freaking nowhere and spears Kevin Owens through the barricade. Freaking awesome spot, dude. There was a bunch of good stuff in this match, man. I am in the boat as Michael Cole. Did he say this on cut? No, he said it during the women's match, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. But I'm in the camp of this was one of the best tag team matches of 2023. Maybe when it's all said and done, we will look at this as the best tag team match of 2023. But it was awesome, man. And obviously, in the end, the new undisputed tag team champions Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Judgment Day continues to be draped in more gold than ever. You got Rhea Ripley, women's champ, Dominic Mysterio, North American champ. Now you got Balor and Priest hold the tag gold, plus Priest is money in the bank. And I said this on Twitter/X last night that I definitely see with this result and how this match went, I do think we are heading towards a War Games in November. I think last night you saw the numbers game take over in the match, and Kevin and Sami really fell to all of the Judgment Day, not just Balor and Priest. And I do think come Monday Night Raw, we are going to see some respect, if you will, from Damian Priest to JD McDonough, kind of acknowledging his help in the matchup. And I do believe whether it's right away on Monday Night Raw, or they at least start to open it up and they let it build for a few weeks, that JD McDonough will officially be added to the Judgment Day, which I absolutely love that decision. And come Survivor Series in November, we will get Balor, Priest, JD McDonough, and Dominic Mysterio versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and pick your other poison for the rest of them. Maybe Cody Rhodes, maybe Seth Rollins, whoever. And that match will happen inside of War Games, and I am very much looking forward to that potentially happening, because if so, I definitely think that match could trump what happened last year. I enjoyed last year's War Games, absolutely, with the Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes, McIntyre and Owens, but I think this year's with Judgment Day, and possibly if they want to add a fifth member and go 5-on-5, they could, but you could just keep it to 4. I think this year's lineup, potentially with Cody and Sami, like I just think it could be an awesome matchup, man. So I really hope that's the direction we are heading in come Survivor Series in November, and I do believe it is. Judgment Day, the new Undisputed Tag Team Champions. Before we get to the next matchup, we had the Grayson Waller effect featuring the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and they kept teasing this big announcement. Cody Rhodes has a big announcement to make on the Grayson Waller effect, and for a second it felt like he was about to announce that he was jumping to Friday Night SmackDown. I really thought that's what he was about to say, and I was like, oh man, they're just sending him over there to start the WrestleMania build early, but that is not the case. However, what he did announce is something that I do think will eventually play into the WrestleMania build for Cody and Roman next April. Cody Rhodes announces that he saw something on SmackDown a few weeks ago that just didn't sit right with him. So he pulled a couple of strings, used whatever pull he had, and officially a member of the Monday Night Raw roster, a returning main event Jey Uso, who came out to a new theme song, as did Jimmy Uso on SmackDown. Great stuff. Jey Uso back, and this is not how I expected Jey Uso to get reintroduced into television, was him joining the Monday Night Raw roster. However, I do think it is the best idea they could have possibly had to continue to have one of their hottest acts in Jey Uso on television, while also delaying his match with Jimmy Uso until WrestleMania 40. I think this is 100%, I think was already in confirmation after they did the whole Jey Uso quit thing on SmackDown last month. They gave him a month off basically, and now he's going to be back in the fold on Monday Night Raw. That way he can continue to be red hot, if not build up his superstar status even more as they lead into a match with Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania. I love this idea. This is the same thing they did with Rey and Dominic last year. After a few months, Rey Mysterio went to SmackDown and they split apart, him and Dominic, for a few months until it was time to kick off their feud for WrestleMania 39. I'm all about this idea, and some people were saying, does that mean Cody Rhodes is on SmackDown? Was he just traded for Jey Uso? Not trying to say, hey, are you an idiot? But like at the same time, you can't trade for somebody who's not on the roster. Jey Uso didn't get traded for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes didn't use his political pull to trade himself to SmackDown in exchange for a free agent. That literally doesn't make any sense. No, Cody Rhodes is not on SmackDown. Jey Uso is on Monday Night Raw. Eventually, Cody's going to be on SmackDown fighting Roman Reigns for that belt, but that's not right now. I just wanted to clear that up. I don't know why. I don't think that was the majority of people, but there were some people on social media questioning if Cody traded himself to SmackDown somehow. No, he just announced Jey Uso was a part of Monday Night Raw. And obviously they used Cody in that spot for a reason. It's going to come back around sometime in the WrestleMania build. Maybe Jey is going to be on Cody's side come WrestleMania and maybe even help Cody win the title at WrestleMania. It's all going to come back around. They put Cody in that spot for a reason last night. It's all just playing into Jey versus Jimmy and Cody versus Roman next April in Philadelphia, which I'll be there. And then we had the Women's World Championship match, Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. I was really hoping going in that this was going to be a breakout match, if you will, for Raquel. Obviously, she's been on the main roster for a while now. She had a great stint in NXT, but I really was looking for her to take that next step, if you will, in the WWE on the main roster. I do think this was a solid matchup. I do think Raquel looked good. She didn't really get too much offense in the match, I will say. It felt like Rhea Ripley controlled most of it. I was hoping for a little bit more steam out of Raquel. That's not her bad. That's just how, I guess, the match was produced. But I do think this was a solid enough matchup. Raquel looked good in defeat with Dominic coming in there, and then obviously Rhea was basically able to capitalize and, in my opinion, survive Raquel Rodriguez, which could come back around to like go into a rematch between Raquel and Ripley, or maybe they're going to get Liv Morgan back involved. Hell, we might get Liv versus Raquel versus Rhea, either at Fastlane or Survivor Series for the Women's World Championship. All for either of those ideas. Last night at Payback, though, good matchup between Raquel and Rhea Ripley, and I'm really hoping for another one. Rhea Ripley retains the Women's World Championship as expected. And in the main event of Payback for the World Heavyweight Championship, the world title finally defended in the main event. We got Seth freaking Rollins defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. I thought this was a excellent matchup. Nakamura just focusing on the back of Seth Rollins, and Nakamura hit every single move, it felt like, in his arsenal. Whether it's moves that Nakamura doesn't pull out every week, moves that normally he pulls out, it just felt like everything Nakamura has to bring to the dance, he brung it. And I thought last night was an awesome matchup. This match very much gave me the main event of NXT TakeOver feels without 65 false finishes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed this. My style of wrestling, very story driven, which I'm all about. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. And these guys told an incredible story last night in the matchup. Rollins having to overcome the back, which, you know, immediately I'm thinking, there was a Judgment Day backstage interview, which John Cena actually hosted, by the way, as you guys saw, and Finn Balor was like, all right, you know, they're celebrating winning the tag team titles. He's like, all right, let's go out, let's leave the building with party or whatever. And I was like, did they say that so they make us think Damian Priest left the building when he could, you know, cash in the briefcase? And then I'm watching this Nakamura Rollins match, and obviously we knew going in that the back of Seth Rollins was going to be the main focus, the story of this match. But I'm like, are they trying to throw us off here and make us think Priest left the building, but Rollins is going to be so beat up with his back afterwards that Damian Priest is going to cash in? And that is not what happened. In the end, Rollins was able to roll out of something that Nakamura had in, or whatever the case was, and he hit the curb stomp real quick to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. And then there was no cash in. Damian Priest not cashing in the Money in the Bank. And like, I'm not opposed to it, right? But it definitely opens up an interesting discussion, because I'm like, when is Priest going to cash in that briefcase if he's not going to go into WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion? That's my thing, because like, I just don't want Damian Priest to have an extremely short title reign, or possibly lose his cash in if it's going to be Seth Rollins going into WrestleMania as the world champion. If they got plans to head for Priest, to head in to Lincoln Financial Field next year as the champ, well then by all means pull the trigger whenever you want. But if Damian Priest is going to win the world title and then have to drop it back to Rollins, or possibly lose his Money in the Bank cash in, well, let's just get it over with one way or another. But hopefully whenever he cashes it in, it is successful. I really hate, I should say, when we have failed Money in the Bank cash-ins. Just feels extremely pointless to me. And they just did that last year with Austin Theory. And I get they were really backed into a corner last year because of Vince McMahon booking, but they got the elbow room, is what I'm trying to say, this year with Damian Priest. They could absolutely plan ahead and give that guy a world title reign. Rollins, if they want Rollins to go into WrestleMania, he can easily win the title back. Nobody's going to be batting an eye if Damian Priest cashes in on Raw Monday, holds it until the Royal Rumble, and then Rollins wins it back to go in the Mania. Nobody's going to be like, oh, pointless reign for Damian Priest. No, we'll have it for a couple months, this, that, and the third. But I don't know. It's very interesting to see what is going to happen. I just don't want them to have a failed cash in. And again, it is on the table that Priest maybe wins the world title, you know, end of the year, beginning of next year, or maybe we're going to get Priest versus Balor for the world title at WrestleMania. I do think we'll probably end up getting Priest versus Balor next year at Mania anyway, but maybe it's going to be for the world title. I don't know. But as for Payback, Seth Rollins retained in a great matchup, but evidently after Payback went off the air, Nakamura attacked Seth Rollins. So I don't know if the feud's not over, or if they're going to really try to play up an injury with Seth Rollins, maybe especially after Payback, getting it exaggerated and then into Monday Night Raw. Maybe that opens up a window for Priest cashing in. I don't know, but remains to be seen. Rollins leaves Payback still the World Heavyweight Champion. And that was it for the show. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I think I enjoyed it more overall than SummerSlam. I just thought it was a better show, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next, man. We're on the road to Fastlane next month, and then we are on the road to Survivor Series in November, which I'm crossing my fingers will be a War Games heavy event with a women's War Games match. Possibly, I don't really know what they could throw in a women's War Games right now. Maybe Rhea and company versus Raquel, Liv and company. I don't know, but definitely the main event with, you know, the Judgment Day versus KO, Sammy, Seth, Cody, whoever. Hell, maybe Nakamura will be on the Judgment Day side if they want to go 5-on-5. That's potential. I don't know. Maybe we'll make another video talking about that, but Payback was great. Looking forward to Monday Night Raw on Monday. Leave your thoughts on Payback down below in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out, and go follow me across all social medias at Noah Nation Vlogs. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.